Feeling overwhelmed by your craft clutter? Exhibit A. I know I am, so come along today. I've got a ton of tips and tricks, so many affordable ideas to control your craft clutter, as well as some items that you already have in your house that you can use to organize. They're going to be absolutely free. We love that here at Whiskey and Whit. A huge thank you to Thrive Market for sponsoring today's video, and let's get into it. You're watching Whiskey and Whit. My name is Whitney. If you're new here, welcome. I am so glad you're here today with me on this journey. Now, I like to keep it real. My room is an absolute mess, so let me show you what we're working with and what the plan's gonna be so we can get going. So for the sake of transparency, here's where we're starting. Now, I recently started sewing, like in the last 6 months. So this is where all my sewing stuff is. The door's not even shut. Then here in my craft room, it seriously looks like a craft tornado hit. I have an old Starbucks drink. Like, when I tell you guys, I like to keep it real. I sure do. For my first step, always, I like to make sure that my furniture and my shelves are where they're gonna be. So I got out these cube organizers because we could better use them downstairs. And I also thought I wasn't using my vertical space as well as I could have been. So I got those cleared out. I moved my white towers from Michael's around. And then I actually saved this tabletop from our old house that fits on there. So I wanted to try to make the most of the outer space of my room. So I moved my desk over, and the goal here was to make as much counter space as I could get. Then once I got my furniture moved around, I headed to IKEA. I grabbed a couple things, including some more drawers, because I find that those are the easiest for me to access as I'm crafting. And I got those all put together and set up in the room to kind of create a kitchen vibe. So an island in the center and then tables around the outside. Step number 2, we're going to organize and make sure that you're purging, because if not, in a few months, you're going to be back in this mess. Here's where I saw a huge bang for my buck as far as organizing and purging time. I removed my ribbon from the spools and it saved me so much space. You can do that by either manually pulling it out and then just tightening it by hand to make it smaller, or you can use your drill like I did for some of my smaller spools, and you use a bobby pin, pop it in like a drill bit, leaving the open side of the bobby pin out, clip it onto your ribbon, and then use the rotation from the drill to help you wind it up nice and tight. So quick and easy, saving me so much space. It is crazy. So glad I did this one. Something else I am revamping on top of this room this year is how I'm snacking when I'm up here working, because I will get so busy. I either don't eat or I eat like junk that I can easily grab. And honestly, that's not good for my health. It's not good for my creativity, and it's not good for the long days that I'm spending up here. That's where Thrive Market comes in. They are a membership-based online grocery store. They have so many different things. For this particular box, I focused on snacks. I got things like almond flour, bars, nutty banana bread, and peanut butter chocolate chip from Simple Mills. I got some peanut butter crackers. I also grabbed some chips because chips are my vice, but I thought some of these better for you options would be better than what I am eating. Just simple swaps. Thrive Market makes it super easy. You can go on their website and sort by dietary restrictions, gluten-free, dairy-free, paleo, vegetarian, all those options. Everything on Thrive Market is free from sketchy ingredients. Think like artificial flavors to antibiotics. And the other great thing is these are brands that I fell in love with when I used to work in the natural organic food space. And it's been so hard to find them near me. And when I find them, they're so darn expensive. So I love with Thrive Market, not only are they cheaper than grabbing them at the grocery store, but they're more convenient because I don't have to go anywhere. I can just order online. And then when I find out which ones I absolutely love, all I have to do is go on their website and use the buy it again feature. It takes the stress out of shopping for snacks. It saves me so much time. Click the link in my description box or head to thrivemarket.com/whiskeyandwhit for 30% off your first order and a free gift when you join Thrive Market today. I've put it off long enough. Now it's time to organize. Also, as I'm organizing, I am making sure that I am cleaning as I go because things get dusty in there. And I am using this all-purpose cleaner from Thrive Market that I got in my box as well. Then the first tip that I have for you is think of organizing containers not as just what they're used for. So what I mean by that is this is actually sold by Michael's to hold 4x6 photos, but it is great for small items. I use it for jewelry making, embellishments, little wood cutouts. Each container can be something, and then they all store together, and I've got those labeled as the overarching thing. I also love these plastic containers from Michael's and these larger ones. They are great for so many different things, and they are very affordable, and they're on sale right now.
Also, when I'm looking at a space, I am trying to get the most out of every square inch. And so behind this divider in the middle of my closet in this room, I added a couple nails. You can do command strips, whatever you have. And I am hanging up some of my bags so I can better use that space and keep them out of the way. Another way I like to use my vertical space on the wall is with pegboards. Now, here's a word to the wise. When I first bought my pegboard, I got it from IKEA because it was all cute, but then I realized you can't intermix those with pieces from the hardware store. So if I were to go back, I would just buy the cheaper one at the hardware store so you can have the round pegs. So something to keep in mind, yes to pegboard, but I would definitely get the hardware store one. If you have any type of drawers, including these white drawers that are really popular in craft rooms, but any drawers, grab some of these adhesive dots from Dollar Tree and use them to stick it down. Some containers come with the adhesive, but if not, just use the glue dots, and it really keeps everything in place so it's not sliding around when you open the door. You can get your grid going, put everything in its place, and you will be all set. Another way to save a ton of space is to take things out of their containers. These were all in their own boxes, all my sublimation blanks. I separated them and they fit in a smaller area. Now, if you are dreaming of a Pinterest-worthy craft room, one of the biggest ways I found you can do that without cost is to organize your supplies by color. So things that you've got a lot of. Paint, maybe it's embroidery floss, maybe it's felt. Organize it Roy G. Biv in rainbow colors. That is what is going to give you that fun, whimsy, colorful look, and it's also going to make it so much easier to find what you're looking for when it comes time to do a project. So I took these big IKEA containers with wood tops and I filled them up with both my yarn and my felt by color, and it's going to make these items so much easier to find.
Vertical space I was not using very well was up here. I just had decor and I decided to put containers up here, felt in one and yarn in the other, because those are super light, so I can easily reach it. It depends on your height, obviously. I'm 5'11", but I can easily grab it, pull it down, grab what I need, put it back up there, and then I also just added a couple pieces of decor so it didn't look so blah. But it is so nice. I can just see the yarn here, so I know that's yarn that's felt. I don't necessarily have to label it.
I wanted a couple of containers to fit on my pegboard, but I couldn't find anything in the size that I wanted. And then it hit me. I grabbed a tin can, free from our recycling, and I used some cardstock I already had to wrap it with some double-sided tape. Make sure it's clean, but then it's good to go. It's going to fit right on my pegboard.
So on top of those tin cans, I also added some of the same paper, as you can see here, and some other prints. I just wrapped them around books. These are just Dollar Tree books that I had in my stash. So I can either put them up straight on the shelf. I can use them as risers. It adds a little bit of that fun color that you're probably hoping for from all the Pinterest pictures that you're seeing without having to spend a ton of money. Something that I think is going to be super helpful, I've never done before, is have a project bag area. So to make that, I just added this shelf like extender. I got it from IKEA, but Dollar Tree has them, Walmart has them. I have my clipboards here for easy access, but then I also have these bags. I got them from Target for back to school, but Amazon has them. I'll link something similar down below. But what I like is when I have a project in process, they go in the progress bag, and if they're not heavy, they can go right back on the shelf. But then that way I know where my projects in progress are, and then that way I'm not like having stuff all over the room. So if you're anything like me and your craft room is like a living, breathing thing and you're using it, sometimes when you organize it looks great, but then you go to actually craft and it's not at all how you want it because the bin is way too high, you use it all the time, or there's something right here that is at eye level that you're never using, and so you're wasting prime real estate. So here's what I like to do. Before I make all of these labels, and I know that the stuff is going to stay in those bins, I use painter's tape and a marker. So this bin right here, I put my candle making supplies like wicks and wax and stuff. I'm going to stick that on there. And then the other thing that you can do is also use it to track if you're using it or not. So like some of my items, I'm like, have I used that in the last year? I'm not sure. Stick your label over the lip of this. And then you're obviously going to have to remove the painter's tape to open the container. So then that way, if you haven't opened it, that helps track it as well. Then usually in February, I'll go through and I'll make all my Cricut labels. But last year I went hog wild. I put them on all the bins and then I ended up having to switch a lot. And like, yes, they come off, but it's different than pulling off a sticker. I like the look of the Cricut labels, but if you got to pull them off, it takes a little bit more time. So I'm going to do the blue painter's tape for a couple weeks, craft in here, make sure everything's where I want it as far as functionality, and then I will make those labels to match all these other ones that I've made in years past.
I also recently picked up this P-Touch on sale at Sam's Club, and I love it. We've been using it to label our bins, but I also like to do inners of bins. So like on these bags, it's a lot easier to just quickly type a label and put it on there. And also when you're sticking labels, think about how it's going to be displayed, because really you're not going to think to put the label on the end like this. However, when I have it on the shelf, that is what I'm going to see. So you want to make sure that you're putting it in areas where it's actually going to be visible and it's actually going to help you out. Here's another free way that I organized my zippers for my sewing projects. I have this big multi-pack and it came in a box and it was a hot mess. So you can either take a paper towel roll, or if you're like me and don't have them, you can cut up a cardboard food box and just roll it and tape it. I'm using painter's tape, and then I'm organizing the zippers by color. I got about 5 on there. You can fit as many as you have. This is also great for things like ribbon or if you have loose yarn. I then just wrapped it around, got them all rolled on there, and then I pinned them down. This is great because it can go right in my drawer, all my colors are there, and it's easy to find what I need.
Snack break. Let me try these. Good crunch, full bag. Only 200 calories. All right, back to organizing. If you've got a craft space and you're looking to decorate, what I found is some of the best decor is actually your supplies. So I've got things like washi tape here. I just have them stacked up. I can grab them as needed, and then it adds some color to my shelf here. I have got things like these jars that hold my makeup sponges for stenciling. I also have another jar back here that has all of my foam brushes. Jars like this you can honestly a lot of times find in your house if you've got extra ones, or vases, things like that. You get a vase and you don't know what to do with it, you can use it to organize your craft supplies. But you can also find vases so inexpensively at the thrift store. You can get them at Dollar Tree too, but you can get bigger ones for the same price you're going to buy a skinny one at Dollar Tree. So something to keep in mind.
If you're like me and you like to save things like cardstock and vinyl scraps, here is an easy way to organize everything. I get this bin that is a hanging file folder, and I have all of these little manila folders labeled by color. I have all the colors for adhesive vinyl, all the colors for heat transfer vinyl, and then all the colors for cardstock. I put my scraps in there because a lot of times they are definitely usable, and you're throwing away money if you aren't keeping the scraps. So I like to be able to easily find them. I can just go right in to the file folder, find what I need, and that's that.
So here in my closet, I have a ton of bins, as you can see, but I was trying to really maximize the vertical space. So a couple things that I really wanted to call out in here are these bins. I've talked about these for years, but these are from Dollar Tree. They snap, they stack so well, and they take vinyl really well. So I have all my like little subcategories, I guess. So some examples. I've got magnets, different rope, ornaments, tags, clay, stamps, and ink. So all those little things, if you've got a shelf space, those containers are nice because they're all separated, but then they don't take up a ton of space. And it was also a huge improvement to hang up all of my blanks here because I've got a closet. I might as well use it that way. And I organized them by color. We've been talking about that throughout the video, but organizing by color is one of the quickest ways I found to make your space feel kind of Pinterest worthy, that high-end craft room, without having to spend anything, because it's just the way you display your supplies. Something that made a huge difference in here were these IKEA shelves. I have one in my closet and I have one here, and it made a huge difference because I'm able to see all of my tools that I use on my main table. So I have somewhere to put it. I can easily transfer them back and forth. I have a container here on my sewing shelf that has my Cricut plugins, my sewing, like foot pedal, the power for all of that. And then I've got my printer down here with all of my printer paper. I love these from Amazon. I have them labeled printer paper, cardstock, sticker paper, colored cardstock. Right next to the printer, I can grab them. And then on the bottom shelf, I have my sublimation printer. That was a huge thing. I wanted to have all of these out and ready, and I can plug in the sublimation printer as well and use it there, or I can take it off the shelf. So this definitely was a great investment for the space because this is just going to work more functional for me than how it was before.
Now, if you don't have a space to put a shelf, no worries. Here is something I would recommend. Michaels and a bunch of other places, but I like the Michaels Hudson carts. They have a big one like this and a small one. This is great because they also sell containers and inserts and everything that fit right on there. And then you can also get items from Dollar Tree that work with them, like these little magnetic cups and hooks, and set that up. It fits a Cricut really well. It would fit if you've got a silhouette. It would also fit things like a printer if it's not super big. And you can put all your accessories on there. This could roll in and out of a closet. It could just sit in an area where you're crafting, and it's great because it's on wheels. It rolls around. You can hang whatever you need on it. It is super helpful, and I would definitely recommend it if you are looking to organize your craft supplies, but you're short on space.
Another area I wanted to show you are these drawers, which is in the bookshelf. Look at all this fabric. So I can't take credit for this idea. My very favorite person, Courtney, over Creative on the Cheap, shared this a couple years ago. And before I started sewing, I didn't have enough fabric to do it. But now, since I'm sewing, I've accumulated, as you can see, multiple drawers of fabric. So what I did to organize this, again, Courtney's hack, is you've got your fabric, and in here are comic book boards, but you could easily cut, you know, whatever to the size. I folded the fabric, and then I just used it as like a little mini bolt. It's so easy. And then it pops right in there. I've got it sorted by like novelty prints, stripes, ginghams. I've got solids down here. I've got my Christmas. It makes it so much easier to find what I'm looking for, and it is a great use of these drawers. One of my most popular questions I get asked all the time is, how do I store my wood blanks? And I don't have a great answer for you. I put them in these bins up here, and I have them in like on a wood shelf. If you have a good way to store wood blanks, let me know, because I'm always tweaking that to figure out what to do. And this works for me, but if there's a better way, I'd love to know. The reason I wanted to put this on top of my sewing table is because when I take stuff down, it's like, where do I put it? So I thought this would be nice to be able to pull off a tub, set it down, open it, get out what I wanted, or set it here and then get into the one that's underneath. And then under here, I use the storage in the sewing table because I use my island as my sewing table. So I've got my frames, and then I've got wood like staging things. And then over here, a swing out arm for my sewing iron. I've got all my batting and stuff under there, so I can easily grab it. I've got some extra like sewing machine things, so that way I could easily get to that, but then it's tucked away behind the curtain. And then opposite of my craft desk is my editing zone, as well as this additional countertop space in front of the window. What I love about the space in front of the window is that I've got a bunch of different surfaces that I can either stage things on, I can do projects on. There is a bunch of different things that I could do. I could also sort things as they come in, sort completed projects, all that fun stuff. I also like having my computer right in front of my table again, because with sewing, I like to use my computer screen for streaming and like put on a show in the background. And where it was in the corner originally, I wasn't able to do that. So I like to have that there. I also like to have like YouTube videos on when I'm crafting and things like that. So this angle is going to work a lot better. And then this desk next to my table is going to kind of be a flex space between working with the heat press there, and then there's also going to be a kind of desk component to it, so I can do paperwork there, financials, all the stuff that comes along with running a business. And then my craft island is such a central piece. I am so happy that I purchased this 2 years ago. It has been such a staple in my craft room. It's been so helpful. I have a nice big space to craft on. It fits my overhead mount really well. So definitely would recommend a kitchen island. A huge shout out to Shannon at the Daily DIYer, one of my great friends, letting the world know about her secret, and then I jumped on that bandwagon and I haven't looked back because it is so incredibly helpful. I hope you're leaving today with some tangible, useful tips that you can incorporate in your craft space, no matter the size, no matter your budget. Remember, you don't have to have a Pinterest-worthy space to create beautiful things, and you also don't have to spend a ton to get really pretty looking craft supplies that can inspire you. So just keep that in mind. I know a lot of times when you watch these videos, it's like comparison, all the things, but just focus on what you have, what works for you in your space, because what works for me might not work for someone else. But I definitely like to share a variety of tips so that you can pick and choose what works for you. And let me know down in the comments what your favorite tip was and what you'll be taking away. A huge thank you to Thrive Market for sponsoring today's video. You can head down to the description or head to thrivemarket.com/whiskeyandwit for 30% off your first order and a free gift when you join Thrive Market today. Thanks so much for watching, and I cannot wait for another fun year with my craft buddies creating in this room for my channel. Thanks for being here, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!